Recall that the pituitary gland, also called the hypophysis, lies beneath the hypothalamus. It is attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk called the infundibulum. The pituitary gland in humans consists of two lobes, an anterior lobe that is made up of endocrine tissue, and a posterior lobe that is made up of neural tissue. The anterior lobe and a small portion of the infundibulum make up the adenohypophysis, and posterior lobe and most of the infundibulum make up the neurohypophysis. We have reviewed 6 hormones secreted by the anterior lobe of the pituitary. They are thyroid-stimulating hormone, or thyrotropin, follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, the gonadotropins, adrenocorticotropic hormone, or corticotropin, growth hormone, and prolactin. These are considered the classic anterior pituitary hormones because their structures and physiological functions in humans are well understood. 4 of these hormones, TSH, FSH, LH, and ACTH, are called tropic hormones because they cause the release of hormones from other endocrine glands. Drag each tropic hormone over its target tissue. The ventral hypothalamic hormones that influence the release of tropic hormones and growth hormone are the first hormones in a series that ultimately regulate the secretion of hormones from target glands. The target glands include the thyroid gland, gonads, adrenal cortex, and liver. It secretes insulin-like growth factor. A ventral hypothalamic hormone controls secretion of an anterior pituitary hormone that stimulates secretion of a hormone from a target gland. The final hormone in the chain acts on target tissues of the body. This kind of complex control system provides many input sites where other hormones and neurons can act to achieve fine control over the endocrine system. Let's look first at the influence of hormones. For each hormone series, negative feedback loops control circulating levels of the target gland hormone. Negative feedback exerted by the target hormone can be directed at the anterior pituitary, the ventral hypothalamus, or both. Target hormones from one series can also influence the secretion of hypothalamic or anterior pituitary hormones from another hormone series. We have looked at negative feedback control for thyroid hormone and cortisol in Topic 2. Let's review them briefly here. Click the pituitary gland to continue. Thyrotropin-releasing hormone acts on cells of the anterior pituitary to increase secretion of thyrotropin, TSH, which in turn acts on the thyroid gland to increase secretion of T3 and T4. The thyroid hormones feed back almost exclusively to the anterior pituitary to inhibit secretion of thyrotropin. Click the T3 and T4 to continue. Thyroid hormone is also essential for anterior pituitary cells to secrete growth hormone. Click GH to continue. Corticotropin-releasing hormone acts on cells of the anterior pituitary to increase secretion of corticotropin, ACTH. Corticotropin acts on the adrenal cortex to increase secretion of cortisol. Cortisol feeds back to both the anterior pituitary to inhibit secretion of corticotropin and to the ventral hypothalamus to inhibit secretion of corticotropin-releasing hormone. The cortisol system is subject to far more dynamic changes than the thyroid system, and all hormones of the cortisol series exhibit a circadian rhythm. Click the pituitary gland to continue. Let's look now at the release of prolactin. Prolactin differs from other The hypothalamus is the highest level integrating center for the autonomic nervous system and the coordinating center for neuroendocrine interactions. Fibers from many parts of the brain influence the endocrine system via hypothalamic neurons. The cerebral cortex is widely connected, both directly and indirectly, to the hypothalamus. Parts of the limbic system, thalamus, basal nuclei, reticular formation of the brainstem, and the retina project to the hypothalamus. Strong emotions like fear, body housekeeping signals like ingestion of food, harmful stimuli that produce pain, trauma, or infection, Environmental changes like extreme cold and light signals from the retina can influence the endocrine system through these circuits. Click the hypothalamus to see a neuroendocrine interaction. Neuroendocrine reflexes like the milk ejection reflex or milk letdown are mediated in the hypothalamus. Suckling induces release of oxytocin that causes the myoepithelial cells of the mammary glands to contract and release milk. The sound of a baby crying can cause a similar letdown of milk, and anxiety and worry can inhibit the milk ejection reflex. Click the hypothalamus again to observe responses of chemically sensitive neurons.